All right. We'll take care of a few bookkeeping things, and then we got an executive session for 6:15. So we have the minutes from November 10th and November 17th that Amy had sent out during the week. Everybody had the opportunity to review those. I'd entertain a motion to accept those.
Yes, I make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes from November 10th as written.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Ken, seconded by Dave. All in favor, Dave?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And I am a yes. We got a couple abatements. We got water. 149 Homeland Drive. Abatement of water 396.28, sewer 245.97. Double bill for the old meter usage. So this is a swap out, Amy, from the old to new and for Dennis. Amy or Dennis, can you hear me?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, it was
okay.
one of the swap outs that was done in March.
Okay. All right. So this is the glitch, technology glitch.
Mhm.
So I'll entertain a motion to accept the abatement as for 149 Holman Drive. Someone wants to make a motion?
Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Dave.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second. All right. All in favor, Dave?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Mark?
Yep.
And I'm a yes. So if whomever's around, if you can swing by and sign that for Amy to make that official, that would be helpful. And then we have a few trash abatements. So this is the continuing saga, to put it nicely.
Yeah.
Kevin, did you get all of the emails that I sent regarding those late this afternoon? I sent you 3 different emails with each individual one on there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
just
3
make-
separate ones.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. There's probably about 40 total. I'm not gonna go through and read them all individually. Most of them are senior discounts. Then there was a bunch of houses that weren't occupied yet, still under construction. And then a few people that provided information that they have a private hauler, so we give them back their trash fee. That's kind of the gist of it. It's all total. Amy, do all these 3 separate?
Yeah, you'd have to vote on them separately because there's 3 different abatement packets. So just if
Okay.
you want to vote on the total of each one, maybe.
Okay. All right, we'll do one at a time then. So okay, so these look like some double billings and things like that. So it's abated for $3,420. About 10 or 12 different properties.
So if I can just clarify on these, so the 2 smaller packets, the 3,420 and the 5,650 were basically the same packets that you voted on last time, but Lonnie had to make a couple of adjustments on the amount. So they're the same addresses that were voted on before.
Okay. And then this third one, the additional one, this 3,420. You said some of these look like they were two either double billed or not billed yet, or there's one that the house was demoed, things like that. So a couple of them provided information that they have a private hauler.
Oh, that's the new one for 3,362.50. I'm sorry, 3,312.
3,420.
That was a packet that you guys had voted on last week or a couple weeks ago. But yeah, she just had to remail some things out. Bruce, are you there that you can clarify this a little bit more for Kevin if needed?
So the $3 amounts, the 3,420, that the board already voted on these addresses. The dollar amount changed due to the fact that rather than abating and billing, we were instructed by the town hall to just go ahead and only bill out the ones that were correct. And the abatements, forget this correctly, the adjustment minus in the abatements was incorrect. So that's why this amount was less than what we voted before. So you're just voting, you don't have to vote, the address has already been voted, you're just voting the dollar amount, 3,420.
Yep.
The second one, if you want to do them one at a time, then I'll go over the second one.
Okay, yeah. So let's just take a vote. You know, it's tough with, I guess, you know, you can see him and look at him in the office when you go in to sign, if there's any questions. So it's the amount of $3,420 to abate various different trash. Most of them are full value. So accept a motion to accept these abatements as shown. That's all I can do. I want to make a motion.
Kevin?
I'll make a blind motion to accept that.
All right, second it. Someone want a second?
Yeah.
I second it.
Second by Mark. All in favor, Dave,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, so then we get 5,650. These are all senior discounts.
And basically, the dollar amount that went up to the town hall was different than what the dollar amount that the town hall came up with was different than the amount that we voted to abate by $75. That was literally a typographical error in our office, just not punching in the correct digits on 3 of the senior discounts. So that was the $75 that was off. So you're voting on that 5,650 just so we jive with the same amount that the town treasurer has.
Okay. All right, so I'll accept the motion for the all senior discounts for $5,650.
Make a motion that we accept the senior discounts for the amounts stated.
Second it.
Second by Mark. All in favor, Dave,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And the last one, $3,312.50. So again, looks like just it was a $50 difference from the last time.
There was 14 senior discounts on this one, 3 confirmed private haulers, 2 reversal of senior discounts. So that is where the resident was granted a senior discount, but then the house was sold and the new owners no longer qualified. And then 6 of them were for houses that weren't occupied yet. They were new construction.
Okay. All right, I'll accept a motion for the abatement for $3,312.50. Someone wants to make one.
All right.
Make the motion this time, Ken, to accept. Taking turns.
I'll
Motion
second
by
it.
Dave, second by Ken.
Yep.
Vote Dave,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
And just one last note on the trash abatements. We are definitely working on streamlining this and making it so, pretty much the only abatements we should be getting new senior discounts, newly built houses that are half, like into the fiscal year already, or houses that are sold mid-year that were getting a senior discount and are no longer eligible. We'll be working with the town hall and the Josh McNeil on making sure that the software will update all these each consecutive year without having to go through all this.
Okay. Excellent. All right, let's see if we can get through the next couple things, and then we'll get the executive session. Authorization to sign warrants and payroll.
So I guess this is something you guys are supposed to do every year. You need to approve if all members individually are okay to sign payroll, and that you need 3 of 5 members majority to sign bill warrants.
Okay. So we'll vote on that. So I need a motion that all members are allowed to sign bill and payroll warrants. Someone could make that motion.
Make a motion that all members are allowed to sign bill and payroll warrants.
Second it.
Seconded by Mark. All in favor? Dave,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and I am a yes. And then we got a couple employee step raises. These, I don't know, Bruce, these yours, Dennis, some of each. Yep.
I think Dennis is on here, but yeah, these are, if he wants to jump in, these are employees within the water and sewer division now, and they are all do contractual step raises based on their time of employment.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes.
All right. What Bruce said.
Obviously, no issues. I would assume. So we got Brad Dudas, Joe Cataldo, and Robert Veloso. I might be mispronouncing that, but all due for step contractual step increases for pay. So,
Make a motion that we award them their step raises respectively.
Second it.
Second.
all right, all in favor? Dave,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and a yes. All right. All right, we're just about 6:15. Hi, Wayne.
Carol?
Why? All right, so it's not 6:15. All right, so we need to go into executive session for in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Paragraph 21A1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than the professional competence of an employee, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of such employee. So I need a motion to go into executive session. Seconded?
Make a motion that we go into executive session.
All right, made by
Second it.
Seconded by Mark. We'll take a roll call vote. Wayne? Wayne, you're on mute.
Muted, Wayne.
Aye.
Ken?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So I'm going to stop the recording because we are now in executive session. All right,
Okay.
we
So-
are back recording, so we're back in open meeting.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to have to excuse myself and finish up the issue we've got going on at Town Hall here.
Okay.
So I apologize that I had to miss that whole session, but all right. Good night.
All right,
All right.
thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa. Do we still have Attorney Gately still on?
I just took him out.
Oh, you did, okay.
All right. So we are back in open session. Dennis, is Ziad still hanging on, or you want to reach out to him? We
I
can
I
move him up
believe he
and
is.
see
I
where
don't
he's
know
at.
if he's see.
I'm so excited. And get my for 208.
Kevin, Ziad had sent me an email while we were sitting here. He wants to know if he's going to be able to share his screen. He should be able to do that, right?
We had a ball each time.
I think so.
Okay, that's what I told him. So hopefully he'll be able to.
The worst case, I think he could email it to me and I can share it, but
Okay.
When I wake up, this really has been a dream.
I sent him a message. He should be joining us.
Imagine waking up to gentle sea breezes. It's okay. Finding a home in paradise doesn't be a distant fantasy. It's a dream within reach.
Yeah, mute your phone.
Correct. And imagine yourself with double height. The Bahamas are an easy
Here he is.
And he's on the list.
Sand beaches.
Muted.
No, sorry, would have helped if I unmuted myself. Should be a little bit better now.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome.
yes.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much time you want to give me tonight, but let me share. This is the plan set that I sent you. I'm sure you could see it on my screen right now, I hope.
Still
I
a
got,
log cabin.
Not
I
yet?
got nothing.
Yeah.
Still nothing?
Yeah, nothing.
Maybe it's because it's a large file, it takes a little bit to come up. Just give it 1 second.
It's coming up now. Yep.
There.
Awesome.
Yep.
Good.
Excellent.
So let me also follow my agenda, which I could probably put on the okay, quick on the agenda. I think today, I think what I emailed you the other day, this was the preliminary design set for the force main. We're still kind of tweaking through a few things, and I'm not sure if you had a chance to review it, but the thought process is I could just walk you through the, I know it's 52 sheets, whatever, but we'll walk you through the important pieces and give you a quick update on the permitting. So the biggest thing on permitting, the notice of intent through the Whitman Conservation Commission, this was submitted on 10/29. We got approved and we have an order of condition. With Brockton, we did submit on 10/27. We had the first hearing on 11/18. The conservation agent came back and he had like 4 comments, and primarily in the wetland piece and the cross country, because the area is saturated with water and there's some concerns about flooding and how we handle dewatering and everything else during construction. So we responded this past week with a memo addressed on their comments, and this is, they have this at this point. So, and I think we're on the agenda for a week from tomorrow. It's 12/16 for continuation. On the U.S. Army Corps, we did submit on 11/3. There's a review period of 60 days. We did have a virtual call with them on, was it Monday last week, a week ago? And they're, leaning towards making us put the the matting in the easement along, from end to end, because they don't see any other way to do this work without the matting. So they're kind of concerned with the resource area, and they want to protect it. And their permit probably will be predicated upon matting from erosion, from filter sock to filter sock for the width of the easement. In any event, I think I did carry in the cost estimate the construction matting for the length of the easement, which is about, I think, 5,200 linear feet. This was already included in the cost estimate. So we're going to, we did resubmit on Friday the supplemental stuff for the U.S. Army Corps permit. So it's in their queue. Again, we're still looking at 60 days for review and approval. On the MIPA, we had a virtual call with almost 48 attendees from just about all regulatory agencies. We held this about a week and a half ago. There was a lot of comments. We submitted an ENF, and the ENF was submitted on 10/28/2020, and that's short for environmental notification form. So the comments that came from the solid waste group, and this is specifically to the landfill in Brockton, we'll just cover this when we go through the plan set. The closing comment period just ended 2 days ago, and I think the certificate from the secretary is due on the 14th of this month. And that tells us whether an ENF is sufficient or an environmental impact report would be required for the permitting. The comments were addressed. This is, all DEP folks were on the call, the wetland group, the solid waste group. But we pretty much answered all the questions, but we'll see what on the 14th, whether the secretary will issue the certificate for ENF or they will require an EIR. Today, we had a call with the DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, the solid waste group, and more specific to the municipal landfill in Brockton, because the force main, as you may be aware, obviously this was installed in 1984, and then Brockton capped the landfill in 2008, I think. So what happened is there is an existing 30-foot easement above the junkyards and within the site assigned area of the Brockton landfill, and it looks like the cap of the landfill comes in exactly to the limit of the easement. So the solid waste group today wanted us to file the modification, facility modification, minor modification, which I don't think it's a big deal. So they want to get the information for us, the CAT files and the record drawings from the capping of the landfill, and they want to make sure that we don't disturb the waste when we install the new force main. So based on today's phone call, I could, we'll talk about this, as we go through the plan set and see what kind of options do we have in there to minimize the impact. This is on the permitting piece. I think we mentioned last time, and I'll email this agenda separate, the state revolving fund program. Again, we're still waiting on the IUP, which is coming up in January, whether, to tell us whether the project made the list on the intended use plan. And if we end up going that route, certainly they would have the plans and the checklist to review and give us permission to advertise and permission award. So with that, let me walk over through the plan set. Again, this is a preliminary design. I think it is probably about 50%. I think what we'd like to cover is, I'm going to flip through the first few sheets because that is the existing condition plan survey. And bear with me here 1 second.
Yeah, just a question on existing utilities. How much, if any, was done via kind of test pits or investigation, or is it all just from record drawings?
So when we hired the surveyor to go out there, they did do a few things. For the gravity sewer, they shot rims and inverts, and they, connected the dots for alignment, that's the proper way of doing it. They did the same thing for drainage, and of course, the force main, we kind of went back and forth, but we kind of located the manholes, the air release valves, and the blow-off manholes, and then secured the alignment this way. And of course, a lot of it was record drawings and available information. No test pits were done. Just anything that's visible on site to kind of compared it to the records and then confirmed it that way.
Good.
So here we're still in the existing condition plan, and that's really for the whole alignment for the 16,300 linear feet. Let me jump to the. Okay, so this is the Auburn Street facility, the pump station. And by all means, feel free to stop me if you have any questions. So the light shaded color, this is the existing 20-inch force main. And based on discussions with Dennis and his staff, and the flow meter that currently exists inside the pump station wasn't really accurate, and the only way to calibrate the flow meter is to measure it against a known flow. And the thought process was to add a flow meter inside of a manhole outside the station, and that way you could compare the two flow meters and know exactly what you push into the system. So two ways you could do this. If you could see, this is the main line, and the idea there is a branch that splits off the main line is if you need to service the flow meter, you could shut off this gate valve, and this gate valve, I hope you could see the mouse hovering over this, and the flow would be running straight through here. You isolate the flow, and then you go into the manhole, pull up the flow meter, take it, send it somewhere for calibration, or even replace it for that matter. So there is a way. So obviously this requires multiple gate valves to be able to isolate the flow and then bypass the flow, but at the same time, I've seen this happen where you could just put it straight line, right? So you don't have the luxury to basically take it offline unless you have two separate force mains. And in the process, if you put it on line, you could save yourself maybe about $100,000 to $150,000 from this setup. Outside the pump station, we also there's a hydrant today inside the fence, so we kind of took the fence out, remove and reset, put the hydrant outside, and then put the fence back in. And as the station, we tried for the most part to kind of maintain consistency in the alignment. So if the existing force main is on the left, the new force main is on the right. We only did cross once before we went into the easement on Elgin Street. But this is really what's going on outside the station. In addition to that, today in practice, you have a force main, just like anything else, like a drain line, for instance, you have to provide some sort of an access point. So here we put some launching barrels and some drain. If you take that force main offline, you could drain it back into the wet well. So what this provides you is an access point to the force main. It's something that would be raised up to grade with a few gate valves. These gate valves would drain the force main back into the wet well. And you don't have to have them, but they're a luxury to have, and they're good to have just in case. And I think this is more critical if you have, if there is a decision to keep the two force mains and rehab the other one. We'll talk more into more details with Dennis and crew after the fact and see which way you guys want to proceed with that. But this is just something that it's been used just about with most municipalities who do have dual force mains. Okay, and then we would leave the station. This is all happening on Auburn Street, so you could see it's staying to the south of the page. And anything that you see here in the inset, this is for the other two pump stations, all for this connecting to the existing force main. Obviously, you want to connect them to the new force main. And the way to do it, there is the blowout detail further down. We could cover that as we go. The profiles and the cross section, anything that you see down here in the crossing is the crossing utilities, whether it's drain, gravity sewer. We do have the records for the existing sewer services. We have the records for water. Everything is there. It's done in pipe network. You know, the force main kind of stays at average depth. You don't want the force main to be shallow because you don't want anybody to hit it. You want it to be somewhere between 5 and 7 feet, and that's what we're trying to maintain all along. Anything that is within the town right away here on Auburn Street happens to be plastic pipe. It's a PVC DR18. It's a pretty thick pipe, robust, and it is rated for 265 pounds of pressure. Same thing on Auburn. We continue to be on the left side. You know, sometimes there isn't a whole lot of separation. We're trying to maintain about 10 feet of separation between the two force mains. Last thing we want to do is while you have the contractor dig for the new force main, you either, God forbid, you hit the force main, the old one, or you hit something else. We're trying to avoid doing that unless we have to. And we have a couple situations, to be honest with you, where we are tight, and that really, it is the case on Southfield and Brockton. We'll get to that a little bit later. Same thing here on Auburn, continues to be on the south end of the page. Now we get to the other pump station. And by the way, these two stations we've discussed in the past, they're not metered. So I'm not sure if there's an appetite to just add a flow meter for each station to cover, to see what the flow is going out of them. But we'll talk about that with Dennis in more detail as we move forward here. And then here, I think we get into the Elger Street at this point. There's the crossing through that easement. And then, I'm sorry, here's Elger. So this is where the wetland situation starts. Now, I walked the site the day before Thanksgiving, and this is in response to the conservation agent in Brockton, because she had raised some concerns that the site is flooded. And I don't know if you remember last time we spoke, we did, in September, I put 5 wells, monitoring wells across the site to basically monitor the impact of groundwater and construction. We put one on at the station itself, because that's going to be a deep cut at the Auburn Street pump station. Put one right here, where I'm hovering right at the, you know, in the wetland or in the cross-country piece beyond Elger. Put one somewhere in here. And then one further on the Brockton side by Thetcher Street, one by the landfill. And it was 5 of them, and I did measure the groundwater. So here, obviously I knew exactly what the conservation agent was talking about. This is all saturated. I could even walk any further, maybe 300 or 400 feet beyond Elger. This is all wetlands, and the water was about a foot, you know, in that easement. And in the well here, the water was at grade. On Thetcher Street behind Massasoit, the water was about maybe 3 to 4 feet below grade. That's the deepest water I found. And then at the base of the landfill behind the Brockton Auto Parts, the junkyard, that was maybe 1.5 to 2 feet below grade. So it is safe to say that in September, when we drilled these wells in, of course we had, you know, this past season was a little bit of a drought. So it wasn't indicative of what the groundwater was, but, you know, based on most recent rain events and all that, you know, it is safe to say that the easement is going to be problematic when it comes down to dewatering. So we cross, we stay in the cross-country piece to the left side all the way here. And then this is in the cross country where you know, the unmanned stream, then the other one is called the Beaver Brook. So this distance, if you could see between the blue lines, it's about 300 feet. And this is what we're proposing to drill it by directional drilling. So that way you're not really impacting wetland and then having to do a wetland restoration. And this is really puts us a little bit below the thresholds on the permitting because the amount of dredging doesn't exceed what was in the MIPA regs. So if we put a launching pit here, receiving pit here, we could send about 300 linear feet of HDPE pipe and then fuse it to the, by the way, the pipe that is in the cross-country piece, including the landfill, is polyethylene pipe DR11. It's about 2.5 inches thick. It doesn't rust, doesn't corrode. It is rated for 235 pounds of pressure, and it works extremely well in groundwater situation. And this is a pipe where you could send it through the when you do horizontal directional drilling, this is the pipe that you want to use. So this will be DR11 polyethylene HDPE pipe.
And Ziad, we're not doing a casing, right? We're just
no
push the
casing
pipe.
here. Yep. And like I said, I mean the pipe is robust enough to. And then, by the way, when we are on either side of the brook, there will be some anchoring system because the polyethylene pipe is not like ductile. It has the tendency to slightly move with temperature. So to resist against the pipe contracting or expanding, what we do is we put like a dead man anchor on either side where it connects to the adjacent pipe once the HDD is completed. Again, same thing, we stay in parallel. And now here we get into, we still in the easement piece here. This is the manhole behind Massasoit, I think, where we take a sharp turn. And now we get up to Tetra Street. This is, we come out of the easement. The short distance on Tetra, Brockton Auto Parts is here. I think we go across here. This is one of the other wells that I was mentioning, and this was about 3 feet. We tested the water, nothing really funky. I thought maybe potentially something coming out of the landfill, but nothing there was indicative in the groundwater, so we should be good. We come across through the landfill grounds, and I don't know if you could see that close, but this is the easement. See this line up here? This was a easement, a utility easement, and I think here was about 100 feet, believe it or not. But the issue is when we get to this stretch right here, that became less than 30 feet. And once they capped the landfill, this was reduced to only 10 feet. The only thing that's there is the current force main today. So if we have a force main within a 10-foot easement, today's discussion with Mass DEP on the solid waste, the concern is, if we're putting a pipe in, there is a good chance that we may find trash, like municipal trash, and they don't want to damage the geomembrane liner. So they suggested, can you do test pits and then find out where is the limit of waste, so that way you're not damaging the liner, and then you could, they also requested a health and safety plan. That kind of goes without saying because any contractor would have to submit a health and safety plan. And I think the concern is because the hydrogen sulfide coming off the cap of the landfill could be potentially not deadly, but it could be, could be high concentrations where workers could be exposed to it and everything else. So what they're looking to do for this week, they're looking to get into the office at Mass DEP Southeast, dig up the information from the cap that happened back in 2008, share that information with us. And then what we're going to do is, we're considering 2 things today based on today's discussion. I think the easiest way would be to put a pit here and put the pit there on the other side and then shoot this one, right? Instead of having to dig and then encounter trash. I mean, this landfill is capped. And if we do encounter trash, now we're going to have to create some room or maybe find a way to take that trash and bury it somewhere and repair the geomembrane if the contractor hits it. And so the other thought would be, worst case scenario, I'm thinking we either do it by open cut, conventional open cut, and do like a few test bits in advance to see where the liner is, where the membrane is. where the trash is, and if we have enough room to be able to fit in that secondary force main. Or the worst case scenario, if we really don't have any room, I think we could either shoot it by HDD or we could just stack the pipe here. So those are the three options that we could certainly discuss, and then we could present the pros and cons for each. I think drilling it in terms of cost, it's no different than open cutting it, especially you don't have to deal with trash and trash relocation, any and all that stuff. And DP is not opposed to the fact they know it's a utility easement. They know that Whitman owns this force main within that stretch, and they're on board to let you. They didn't say, well, no, you can't put it here. Obviously, you have to find a separate route, but they are on board, and I think it's doable. The only thing I have to do, I have to file a landfill facility modification. It's a minor modification because we are working within the cycle sign area, right? Even though we're not in the trash, so to speak, but again, we're still on a landfill footprint, on a landfill grounds, and therefore that requires a permit through the solid waste group. The turnaround is pretty, he says, I'll work with you today on the call. He says, if you want it like right away, I could just expedite it and then get it over to you. So I'm waiting for the information from them to be provided, and once that is provided, I would file for the minor modification, get the permit across. And then we get into Southfield. And Southfield is one of those situations where, it appears the right-of-way is wide enough, but you look at what's existing there today, it is insane. If you could see up here, not specifically once you get off the landfill, there is a good stretch here that's not an issue. Maybe like 300-400 feet, it's really not an issue. But I think if you could see here, there's an 18-inch force main that is owned and operated by the city of Brockton that services their system, right? So it is coming down here and then up and over. This is our existing 20-inch force main to the south of the page. There is a 2-inch gas main that is running on this end, almost adjacent to the sidewalk. And that is the issue with our proposed force main alignment. So I did do a little bit of research, and this gas main is owned by Eversource. So in previous experience, you reach out to the gas company and then you say, hey, if this is on your capital improvement plan, this is the time, we could give you the courtesy to go ahead and replace it. And at the same time, we could gain some space so we could fit our force main comfortably where we want to fit it. And then we're still working with them. I think the issue here is we found out that the way the gas main, the record drawings that were provided by the gas company aren't adequate. So they have some additional information that they're sharing with us at this point. So again, in this stretch, it's extremely tight, and we may be facing a situation where we either have to pull our force mains together, the existing 20 with the new 20 that we're proposing, so to stay away with from the gas main, because otherwise you kind of almost need to support the gas main for the majority of that alignment. And from the time you leave the landfill in Brockton till the terminus manhole on Southfield is about 2,500 linear feet. So it is really quite a bit of work and quite a bit of coordination. On the south side of the road, there is a water main, there is a gravity sewer. There's a lot of stuff that's happening on here. So, options, to tell you the truth, on Southfield for 2,500 linear feet. The first option that comes to mind is we, have the gas company relocate the gas main so we could gain access and then gain some more space to be able to fit the force main in. The second option would be, and again, I'm going to throw it out there. I don't think I'm recommending it one way or another. Again, for 2,500 linear feet, and I could show you a Google map figure what the roadway condition looks like. Let me see if I could do this. That didn't work, right? The condition of Southfield, there's really no pavement left. And I know for a fact, if we go in there, we dig a trench, Brockton's probably gonna come back and say, well, you have to restore this curb to curb. So one of the thoughts, we could certainly send in a crew today before we even bid this job, like somebody like from National Water Main, and at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning where the flow is minimal. We don't have to shut down the station or Auburn Street or anything. Have them go in this terminus manhole, send the camera through, assess the condition of this existing force main. If in fact the liner is intact and the force main had no issues there, somebody could make an argument we could connect just when you exit the landfill, and then you save about 2,500 linear feet. And again, I'm not recommending this at this point. This is just a thought that I have to share. And then the last case scenario, if we don't have the room and then we could stack the pipe, or we could offset them by a couple feet. So that way, if you need to access one of them in the future, it is not ideal, but it is something that was done before. I've seen it done on Nantucket. I've seen it done in multiple places where you don't have the luxury of offsetting 2 pipes the way you want to offset them. But again, it is an option. And when we get down to, if we're able to fit them all in, to be able to minimize shutting down the station at the end when this new force main is installed, tested, commissioned, and ready to go. So there will be a change of direction manhole that we put in here, and the new manhole, basically you keep the flow going through the existing line. You put a manhole downstream, and then you direct the new flow to it from the new pipeline. So the amount of downtime to connect this new force main to the existing 21-inch in Brockton is almost minimal. So those are the the challenges. And definitely we have a challenge on the within the landfill, and then certainly we have a challenge on Southfield that we'd have to overcome one way or another. We do have some options, and if Eversource comes back and said, yep, we could move that force main, the gas main for you, and then they're not paying for excavation or not paying for restoration because we're going to do it under this contract, and they could upgrade the gas main, and then we could have much more room to be able to put in this force main comfortably. That would be the best way to do it. If not, we either have to consider shortening the force main a little bit, provided that the last 2,500 feet is in very good condition, or perhaps put the force mains closer together than we'd like it to be. So those are the things that we'll have to discuss a little further. In terms of, so this is what the connections to the existing pump stations, the Auburn Street East and West. Basically, if you have an existing force main coming in and this force main is connected to the station, what we'll have to do, this is the new force main to the right, and would have almost a similar setup. So it will be a TEY connection, isolation gate valves on both. And this is again true if and when the town decides to want to rehab the existing force main and then make it a redundant pipeline. So you'd have to either come back, if you decide to switch flow between one and the other, use the isolation valves, and then decide which force main you want to use. And this is true for the 2 of the stations, the East and West. This is for the other one here. And then we have the number of air release valve. So the air release valves would be combination air release vacuum relief valves. So basically when the force main is pushing, a lot of the intermediate and high points will let the air out, and then when the pumps stop at the pump station and you get the flow coming right back, would be a suction of air. So these valves up here are called combinations. So it would be 6-inch combo air release vacuum relief valves. So that way you're not collapsing the pipe, and then you're not putting a lot more pressure than the pipe could handle. And we have 5 air release valves and then 4 blow-off manholes where you could, in low points, you could get in there, and there is a quick connect. If you take the force main offline for whatever reason and you want to drain it, some of the low spots are not going to drain. So you go in there with a Vector truck and then connect to this 4-inch coupling here at the base of the T, and then you could Vector out the remaining sewage that's sitting in the pipeline. And what we do is when we complete the project in the O&M manual, we'll have a standard operating procedure, and we'll divide the pipeline and line segment. If you're looking between manhole number 1 and manhole number 2, this would be the remaining volume of waste that you'd have to pump out, so you know exactly how much you're pumping. You know, so that way you're not leaving anything in the pipe if you have to clean it up and then put it in standby. Same thing, different case scenarios. This is the fiberglass manhole that we decided, or we talked about putting in the cross country where the area is wet and is always subject to high groundwater table. And the thought process, again, it's not to get water to go into the manhole, keep it dry at all times, and then 2, to make sure it doesn't deteriorate, because concrete, you know, with time, you know, especially when you have brown water going in, there's some delamination or some you can impact the concrete itself, the concrete surface, or the strength of that concrete. So I think, you know, the PVC or the HDPE plastic manhole will go a long way, and then we'll keep it slightly above the groundwater table, at least one is visible, and then we prevent water from going in there. These are just transitioning. So there will be a time where you're transitioning from polyethylene to PVC when you leaving the main right away, going into the easement. The transition requires a little bit of a concrete encasement, just because the different pipe material move differently. So a ductile moves the less. PVC moves a little bit with temperature, and polyethylene moves a little bit more than the PVC. So once you make a transition, those will be all megalogged and restrained. And then in addition to the restraints, you add a concrete weight to make sure there's nothing, the pipes is not going to pull out. And it really only happened a couple of different places where we transitioned from one pipe material to the other. This is the matting that would be taking place in the easement. So basically, if you think about it, because we cannot cross somewhere along, you know, halfway through that cross-country easement, we can't really continue going across, because the wetland and the unnamed brook and the Beaver Brook there. So you'll get to the certain level, you come back, and then you go the other way. And this is the hay bales or straw wattle, and the you know, within that 20-foot or 30-foot easement, depending on the width of the easement, the matting would be will be installed there. Just the rest of it, this is general details. We provided to minimize the amount of disturbance within the cross country. So we have a polyethylene pipe. The bedding would be about a foot below the pipe. And then they're not going to allow us to build the road on top. So that would be, and I didn't want to commit to lumen the entire easement. So we just said, okay, whatever comes out of there would be put back. So in other words, you're not really incurring any additional expenses to bring in imports such as loam or anything like that to put on top of the easement. So we're going to be working with them on perhaps like anything that could be chipped and then put like within that 10-foot stretch. So in the future, Dennis and his crew could be riding back and forth on this, servicing these manholes, and that's the intent. We made it clear pretty much to MIPA and the folks at DEP and the conservation that these manholes have to be serviced and have to be accessible at all times, and we cannot just simply let the growth come back and then, you know, not allow the crews to be able to access these manholes. So that's, I think, that's the big picture.
Okay. Down in Southfield, I I'm assuming that gas main's old.
I'm hoping it is old. We don't really have the record. I did not, we've been, a lot of, as you know, I don't need to tell you this, Kevin, but I think gas company sometimes is, again, information could be a little bit, could go a little slow.
I mean, I'd be in favor of relocating the gas main, to be honest.
Me too.
I don't want to not replace it. It doesn't make sense to go 80% and leave the last 20% or whatever the percentage is, especially where it's not
So-
even in our town. You know?
Exactly. You
They don't
see
do
this,
that.
right?
Yep.
Okay. So,
It's just,
so this is the landfill. I just want to be able to see if I could put this guy here. So at least you know the condition of the roadway. So this is Southfield. And this isn't really the worst part, but you can look at what's left of the pavement, nothing really left, right? So if we dig a trench here, by the time we get down 6 or 7 feet, we're gonna be like 7 or 8 feet across. Nothing's gonna be left of the roadway. They're probably gonna come back and say, well, we want you to rebuild the whole thing. And you could see
some
there's,
of our roads, I gotta say.
yeah.
Frankly.
I think we got to commit to in here on Southfield. We're just going to show a so based on the MIPA review the other day, Dennis and I have been reaching out to Brockton as a courtesy thing, and they requested not the commissioner but the buyer or the agent. Dennis, I don't know what David Norton's position is, but he was asking, can you share the information with us, because we want to know where you're putting the manholes and everything else. And I said, sure. And this week I requested some information here from record drawings on Southfield, like water, sewer, any information they have on file, because we want to make sure we avoid conflict, right? We don't want to just show pipe on paper. We want to make sure that the pipe is going to work. So he did say, and we, in the past we've gone, sat down with them and gave them updates, maybe 2 or 3 different times, just to keep them in the loop. And we offered the same thing here this year. They said, well, not at this point, but when the time comes, we'll let you know. So here, for the purpose of the restoration on Southfield, I'm just going to show a permanent trench repair when the pipe is in. And we'll commit to that, and then just let them come back and tell us otherwise.
Yeah, I would agree.
Where's the actual station? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Ziad, when they relined the concrete gravity section, they did a bypass at Southfield. They used Brockton's sewer main. Could we back up towards the landfill and, with their permission, use their sewer main to, accept what comes out of the force main, and then replace, just stay in, we could just remove and replace the existing force main up to where it goes gravity now?
I thought about that, Dennis. The only thing is there's a 10-inch force main. So I got to look at the capacity, and then depending on when we pumping in and how long is it going to take, want to make sure that we don't overwhelm the system. If it's a short duration, I think we could handle it. But if it is a time where, it's a peak flow from your station, and then, it is a possibility, yes.
They've done it once before. It would be closer to the dump, though, if we did it, if you were to make the crossover.
That's right. Yep.
And then, as far as the flow meter at the pump station and flow meters at the 2 satellites, the smaller stations, would it be better just to put a flow meter past the last satellite station and record all 3?
Excellent point. Yes, absolutely. And that way you would. So here, the one I kind of struggled with on the Auburn Street pump station, and I apologize, I have poison ivy in my eyes. Sorry about that. But the one I struggled with, with the flow meter, you have to have certain lengths to be able to, upstream and downstream. You can't really put it on a bend or anything. But I never thought of it to put it out that way. That's an excellent point. I definitely love the idea. So this way we'll measure 3 of them and we don't have to, yeah, just,
If we did that, then I can always make a comparison between that flow meter and the one at the pump station, and adding in the water meter readings for that section. There's only about 40 houses that serves.
so let me ask a question then. Would it be, because we need power to this flow meter, right?
Right.
So would we be able to run it to the satellite station and then power it up there?
So we'd have to get past the last station, Auburn.
Yes, yeah, we will.
Yeah.
But then can you read it? Now, we won't report to SCADA then, right? Because is that, is the satellite station, does that report to SCADA as well?
You mean, yes, it does.
Okay, so
It
good.
does-
So
it
we'll
does.
have a card there, and then we could add a card to read the flow from the flow meter, and that would be a combined flow, right, for the 3 stations. Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea.
Yeah, even so, we we visit that station daily anyways.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, on the matting, so it's gonna have to be there for the whole duration of the construction. Is that what you think?
Yep.
Is there any fear that they tell us that it has to remain? I know we kind of went through that with the clearing, we got out of it with the clearing, that they weren't gonna require it.
So I looked at remember when we did the clearing, we did 2 bids because the first one was pretty high. And the reason it was high because the matting drove the price to be that high. And I looked at the difference, and I think there's 2 things actually. The difference was about 300,000. And it wasn't just simply matting, because the first one was you got to do matting, and then you're going to have to chip and then haul off the material off site, right? That was one of the conditions. And then we kind of went back again and said, okay, that this is going to work, and then we need the relief on there. And they gave us, as long as you could walk the easement instead of having machinery on there, like a small, low impact type of bobcats and low impact equipment, and we were able to just chip it and leave it on site. And that's what kind of, but I think matting for the whole site, to be honest with you, it's probably going to be about somewhere between 150 to 200,000. It's going to add to the job, right?
Yeah.
So the way the Army Corps is looking at it says, well, if you don't put matting, this is now considered to be permanent impact. So if you're looking at a permanent impact, and it's not simply limited to the trench, because now, you have a force main, you have a machine that's going to be sitting digging, and they're going to load up the stuff to a truck nearby. And then you have to have another truck that's going to bring in the crushed stone for bedding, and multiple trucks going back and forth. And now they're going to consider the 30-foot wide easement as a permanent impact, not so much just the top of the trench. And that's really what triggers the whole matting situation.
Yep. And we're not expecting dewatering. You're expecting, hopefully we can just dewater back into.
So yeah, the way I responded to the dewatering item, I said, look, this is no different than any utility line installed on high ground water table. Yes, we have hay bales and we have siltation fence on the side. The contractor would be dewatering into a bladder bag, like one of those silt sacks, and then we put some erosion controls on there, localized, and all the discharge would be clean technically, right? So you're discharging into a contained area. And I haven't seen the response, but that's just a common procedure. And if the contractor has to bring in a frac tank, if the situation gets if the situation requires a frac tank, we'll have the contractor bring in a frac tank. Not uncommon for these type of applications.
And we're not expecting to have to relocate any utilities on Auburn Street unless.
No, we're only gonna do the AC pipe, Dennis, right? That's the only thing we're gonna do. And then we extended the pavement up to come up to the intersection there, right? For our previous discussion.
Right.
Yeah, and then that's pretty much it. That's all we're doing.
So we are gonna replace the water line. Is that-
Correct. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Z, I got how far we're going on Southfield. Where's the actual termination? Do they have a Brockton pump station?
On Southfield, no. We're going through a terminus manhole, so it's basically a gravity pipe. I don't think I could pull it up here because it's on the record drawing. So it's basically a manhole where the force main discharges below the water lines, so that way the hydrogen sulfide doesn't come out. And we're gonna mimic exactly, Dave, we're gonna mimic the exact same situation, what they had with an additional downstream manhole. So the manhole, the base would be sloped, and the outlet or the gravity piece would be higher than the force main coming in. So therefore, that couple 3 feet or whatever will be always submerged, just to continue, so that the odor doesn't come out.
Okay, no, I appreciate you explaining that. I assumed it was a more formal pump house.
No, that's just going from pressure to gravity.
Pressure. That's wow. All right. Yeah. So
If I want to just go back and just mention again, it's I know, Kevin, you said it, and I totally agree. You don't want to not do the last 2,500 linear feet, because we're going through this whole exercise, and I think it just makes sense. And for the reasons that we just mentioned before, that it's a force main that was installed in 1984. Usually you design them 30 to 50 years. You're almost at design shelf life. And not to say that force main cannot last 100 years. I've seen force mains last 100 years. If the flow is constantly ascending, a ductile iron pipe that is lined, it's always full, and it is installed in optimum conditions, such as soil surroundings, whether it's a protected pipe, and you could last 100 years. Not to say that today people buy a car and they say, okay, you can only get 100,000 miles out of it, but you've seen cars do 500,000 miles. But again, if this is something that could be considered, there is a way today that we could perhaps send the camera through and see what the condition of that force main in low flow conditions at night, when you're not really seeing much coming out of the Auburn Street facility. They could look at that pipeline for 2,500, and maybe, for short money, I think it may be worth the discussion if we have to. I'm just throwing it out there, that's all.
Yeah, I guess I see what the gas company says, and the city. I don't like the idea of doing, like I said, only doing 75% of it. It'd still be an old pipe.
Agreed.
I agree that due diligence makes sense, and but Kevin, from our side too, we're borrowing money. We're going to a special town meeting to have to do this kind of thing again in 5 years for, or whatever time period. Yeah, it just looks awkward. But let's do the diligence so we have that backup. I mean, maybe that tells us, so this makes the decision easy.
Okay, great. I'll put that on the list to do.
All right. The only thing I had, not so much on the design, but the housing choice application, Dennis or Bruce, if that's gone anywhere, or if that's what the town planner, or do we even have a town planner, or what's?
So I sent you this, and then I sent you the link to, first, before you can apply for the grant, you have to be a community that is a housing choice designated community, right? So that's the first one, and you're not, and that's why I think the planner could do this. I don't think it's a huge effort, but there's a lot of information that he would know, and we could more than happy to assist him. But I don't know if you guys have a planner or not. I don't know.
I don't think we do.
You don't have a planner?
No.
No.
So it's not just simply the 250. I just did an application. Actually, as a matter of fact, we submitted today on behalf of Stoughton for a sewer expansion. But the benefit that comes from it is the reduction in interest rate, right? And so instead of borrowing at let's say you're borrowing 15 million or 14 million at 2%, there's a big difference paying 2% versus 1.5%. And if you are in a housing choice community, you'd most certainly qualify for 1.5%, right? So that's where the money comes in, not really the grant. I mean, I know 250 is 250, but still, the interest rate reduction, that's what makes a big difference.
So I didn't really look at it in too much detail. Is this we don't have a planner, but is it I don't know, what type of questions are they? Is it a combination of like assessor's office and
so let me, I could forward you after this call. I could forward you what I just submitted for Stoughton. There's a lot of, so the assessor in Stoughton, the assessor helped. The biggest piece, a lot of the information came from the planner, and he was able to kind of pull the information within 3 or 4 hours. And the assessor went into the spreadsheet and then, got his, it's a town-wide situation. So I'm sure that information is ready from the assessor's point of view. But the planner would have a lot to do with it. But I could forward you the sample and then see if somebody in town could take on that responsibility. And I think it's well worth it. And we could assist them whichever way we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to research it. I mean, it's too much money just to, if we don't qualify, we don't qualify, but at least we can make the effort.
Right.
Right. Okay. I don't know, anyone else got any questions or whatever, or any more comments?
I don't have any.
So I was, again, from a timing perspective, I know I sent it not too long ago, and I didn't expect you to obviously to review it over the weekend. If there is, I think we could probably refine it as we proceed. I think the concept is the concept, and we could refine it. And once we get a sense from the gas company, what's the plan for their gas main and whether they could relocate or not. And then maybe we could have I could send you another set, let's just say we call it 65 to 70% set. And, you could take a look at it and then we could do another one of these.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Good.
Thank you.
A lot of good work by your team.
Getting there.
Thanks. Yeah.
Getting there.
All right.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks.
All right, see ya.
Thank you, Ziad.
Good night.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Kind of just staying on the topic. I don't know if it really, I don't want to get into it tonight, but the elephant in the room is how we're going to pay for this. I think Dennis sent it out to everybody, the loan and the payback. We're talking $1.3 million a year. Was it 20-year what they recommended, Dennis? I mean, I know obviously going longer years it costs more money. But
Right. So this is from Mary Beth, and it was from the using the State Clean Water Trust, and basically the point about this is it keeps the principle the same. But the chart lays it out pretty much. You're looking at almost 1.2 payment every year.
Yep.
And we returned $300,000 to the retained earnings last year, so that's not going to do it. And that doesn't build the retained earnings at all either. And as you know, that development is slowing down. So if we also got a Ken Lytle, the town accountant, to give us a little table on what a rate increase would be. If for every nickel that we go up in water and in sewer, we get a total from combined increase from them of $36,000 a year. So if we want to make a 1.2 payment strictly out of rates, we need to do like a 20-cent raise on, so that would put, water's at 725 now per 100. That would put water at 745 per 100. And sewer, which is 450, it would put sewer at 470.
So the smart bet would be to go up to 750 and then to $5.
What, $5 on sewer?
Yeah,
So you mean more than the 40 cents?
correct.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be
what if
something.
you're wrong?
Yeah.
You can't just go up the exact amount.
Right.
Because if
Right.
you're
Well,
wrong,
if that's, all right, like I said, we returned last year like 300,000 to retained earnings just from current water bills and development fees that happened last year.
right.
And there will be some development next year, but I don't anticipate any big housing developments left.
No, but you've also got maintenance, and you've got vehicles, and you've got, all these things still have to go on for the next 20 years.
Right, doesn't allow any room for any other projects.
Exactly.
Right.
Or anything else that happens.
Including this project. I mean, we can say it's 18 million, but who knows? Hopefully
Yeah.
it'll stay close to budget. Does it make any, I mean, I guess there's no difference whether we go up in rates or we just go for a straight loan. I don't think it really matters. I guess it is what it is. It's still a additional cost to the town.
22.1 million after the interest.
Unless we're a housing choice community.
We looked into that when you guys said that before, and there's a lot of qualifications that we don't meet.
If we don't, we don't. I think it's, I want to be able to look someone in the face and say, hey, we
Did everything
we
good.
tried every option. We had a couple things we didn't qualify. We got the best rate and got us any and all funding or anything we could get.
Yep.
So it sounds like we need to figure out who's actually going to lead that, Lisa Green, or I don't know.
Yeah,
she might
Can you
have
ask
a
her?
plate full. Right.
Maybe she knows somebody that's motivated.
yeah. I mean, wasn't it? I mean, I know she was the one that used to kind of do the grants and stuff like that, but I'm sure.
I don't mean to throw any names under the bus, but I just did.
I don't know, or maybe the finance committee would be interested. Somebody there, Rick, whatever.
Maybe.
And, all right, well, let's ask them. Again, if
Yeah.
rejected by.
Well, let's see.
everyone
Yeah, let's see
downtown.
what I can take what Ziad sends. I mean, a lot goes a long way seeing what information you have to supply instead of just looking at an application. And if it's
Exactly.
a 20-year plan of your town development and things like that, and we don't have that, then you can't make that exist. But if it's just some basic stuff, maybe it exists. Maybe it exists, or a few people have it that can put it together.
I'm pretty sure that, this is how they developed the sewer system to begin with.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they had to do
Good
some study about future development, and you
Yeah.
had to do that for design and probably also for funding. Whether they got grants and.
They had, they bonded stuff for 20, 25 years. They had several.
Oh, yeah,
bonds,
yeah.
actually.
That's what I'm saying. Does it make a difference? Do we just get a straight bond, or do you just up the rates? I mean, probably doesn't matter because 90%, if not more, of the town's on water and sewer, anyways.
Well, you have to up the rates to pay the bond. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's true because it's an enterprise. You can't just up the. tax. All right. Well, let me see what Ziad has. I'll forward that to a few people, see if I can get any movement or some help of what, I can do some math and see what, half to, quarter to a 0.5% will save us over time on a loan.
If you're looking at $1.2 million a year in a payback, and you're only turning back 300,000, you gotta come up with 900 plus.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, Dennis, what was it the year before? I mean, we've had a lot of decent sized developments the last couple of years.
Right, we've done, better in past, it's been up in, but it's, last year was one of the lowest years. Like I said, it's the amount of development that's coming on is just not nothing big as far as, I mean, Heritage Park was the last large, development that we've seen around here. And that's not, it's a 35 lot subdivision, not.
And there's no land left.
Right, there's
Right,
nothing
not
left.
Exactly. I mean, when you compare that to other towns, they're doing, 50 or 60 housing lots. It's not a huge windfall. There are some commercial buildings, some people tearing down old stuff and putting new stuff up, but those aren't real money makers. It's that fee for joining the water distribution system at $50,000. Those add up quick.
Yeah.
You get a couple of them.
Well, a lot of the wells are failing in town. Like, I just had to hook up a couple of years ago. So.
Yeah, that's only, that's what it cost you, like $3,000. I mean, all together, the fees and the hookups, and it's not a huge windfall. It's not a lot of money that comes into the department. If somebody has a lot with water and sewer on it, somebody has a lot with water and sewer on it, it's only $54.85 in fees. Such as that one on Court Street where they tore down the house and built a new one.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll continue to discuss it, and I don't know if everyone, just town meeting wise, Lisa sent me an email. January 27th is looking like the date. They're going to do it up at the high school. 25 people. So.
And they say something too, that the selectmen have to decide their next meeting on the definite date. It was a tentative date, the 27th.
Yeah. They haven't voted on it officially, but that's a date that we're looking at.
Yeah.
So let's say just pencil it in. I would hope we can get 25 people up at the high school for some random January night.
Right. And I'm sure you're aware of this already.
They were hoping.
I'm sure you're aware of this already.
Whoops, what?
I'm sure you're all aware of this already from the last meeting, that we're going to have an article to transfer out of the Rayner Ave money to Hogue to finish the Hogue.
Yep.
Remember we talked about that in the last meeting?
Yes.
Yep. You still get it this year?
Well, if we're going to have a special town meeting, we're just a matter of just having it in a second article.
Okay.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be doing that pavement until the spring.
Okay, I didn't think so. I thought at first that's what you were talking about.
We don't have winter asphalt.
We get the funding
It
in.
just doesn't come out very well.
Just because we have frost on the ground?
It freezes before you can compact it.
All right. Otherwise, we got to wait till the May one for it to do that.
Right. No, we'll do it in the special. So
Out of curiosity, you talk about special. Now that Baker rolled things back to phase 1 of part 3, What does that do to the meeting?
That's Mr. Baker to you.
Oh, okay, Mr. Baker.
I think I still saw you could have 40 people.
Okay.
inside
as long as
gathering.
there's space, okay.
So I think we're still, if they held the 25. Unless it changes between now and then, but who knows?
Well, they're saying Christmas is gonna be worse than Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It has been bad. It's been real bad.
Oh, yeah.
No. All right, anything else in sewer?
Nope.
Sewer project?
I have one other thing. Next June, middle of next year, DEP is requiring that the town submit a new revised emergency response plan. And we need to rewrite one. In the past, from my understanding, I've looked at, some of the other old stuff. We usually get somebody to help us with that, like environmental partners. And something we need to think about. We need, like I said, it's not due until June, but it does take some preparatory time.
Okay.
Have you talked to Ziad about that?
No, I've talked to Ryan though, Ryan Trahan.
Yep.
From Environmental Partners, and they actually he's working on 3 or 4 other towns same plans. The date requirement is based on our population.
I would think that'd probably be something pretty simple for them. Cut and paste reports, fill in the appropriate information from the town, and
Practice makes perfect.
yeah, I would agree. They could bang that out pretty quick.
Okay.
All right. The only couple things we had kind of no business. The complete streets.
All right, come out of executive.
We've been out of executive.
We're out of it? Okay, that's a regular meeting. Sorry. I thought we went back into it for the other thing. Never mind.
Nope.
It's all right, Ken.
It's all right, Ken.
Yeah.
It's been a long
I'm
night.
gonna sleep and come back and wake it back up. No problem.
Wake up, Ken. The complete streets. So the redesign on what is it? Park Ave there.
Park of Essex.
Yep, Park Ave in Essex. So Bruce, sounds like we'll be in line for a winter bid and a spring project.
Correct. They hope to have the plans out to us soon, and actually for our final review, which we've already gone over them. It's just a matter of them drawing them up again, the final plans, and they'll go out for bid. We're thinking at the end of January, and we should be able to do construction sometime in the spring.
All right. We talked about sewer. We talked about the town meeting. And the only thing I just had Amy put on there about the new building, and I know whether it was last meeting or the one before that, we talked about the contract for environmental partners, and I think we signed that to get them going to do a little concept design, take the soil boring info we had, and so I didn't know if any of that had started with you, Dennis and Bruce, or if that, I don't know if that's a Ziad or a Ryan project or someone else from Environmental Partners, or.
Yeah, I believe Ziad's taken that on also, and I was going to mention that when he was with us, but I didn't want to take him by surprise and figure he was, into the sewer plans quite a bit, and I didn't want to pile on. But I think we can reach out to him this week and just see if we can get an update on that at our next meeting.
Yeah, kind of get a work off list with some dates, what he's thinking, I get my guess is there'll be a sit down with you guys before anything.
Right.
On what your thoughts are, what you want. I know he has some ideas, but just to keep it going.
Right.
On a Ziad's plan, does he have that on a file? You can send one of you guys send it to me, or is that?
Yeah,
If not, no worries.
no, this is a PDF,
There's a PDF.
and I would bet, yeah, he might have just forgot, or
Wouldn't mind just taking a look at it.
uh, yeah, I'll find it, Mark. I know I got it here somewhere. I can send it to you.
All right. Yeah, I have it. Let me know if you can't find yours.
No rush. I don't need that now.
Yeah, I'll do it after we get off the call, because if I don't, I'll forget. All right, any new business, anything? All our new employees doing well, everyone's on board?
Yeah, I'd like to say that it's nice to have a full day. And, you know, they've only been there a couple of weeks, but they're settling in. The new employee one of the new employees is going for his license December 15th, the one who had the permit. So we've been doing some work with him, you know, in the yard, and he's been driving. We've had the opportunity to go out sanding a couple times now. He's driven shotgun with that. So things are looking good as far as the new employees for now, and hopefully that continues. I think that's all said.
Yeah, do we want are we allowed to give them pre-approval to advertise? You know, as soon as that other letter thing goes through?
Well, we have, we're full now. So we, you know, essentially went out and filled that assistant mechanics position with the idea that, you know, if that other employee was able to come back, we were going to have to make accommodations to maybe have another employee. And that was discussed with the town administrator before we went through with that hiring. And so now it looks like we won't have to do that. And
Okay.
so, you know, we're square, we're all square, and we should be good to go.
All right, good. Good. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we look to take delivery of the Peterbilt, the new truck that's getting outfitted down in Plimpton right now. That we may be taking delivery of that by the end of the week, so that'll be in service. And the other two vehicles that Dennis and I, the utility vehicles, we're waiting on delivery. We hope to get them early January. I mean, they're supposed to be on the ground in Whitman, I think, by the end of this week, and then they got to go get outfitted over to a place in Stoughton and put the bodies on, the plows, etc.
Good.
Excellent.
The only other thing I could add would be, I'd let you know that we do got an employee out on, with COVID, but he's due back this week.
Okay,
Not actually with COVID,
just close contact quarantine.
Yeah, because of COVID.
Well, I've been surprising it's only one.
Yeah.
I know it's a small department, but I've had 3 or 4 just on my job. Again, no positives, just close contacts.
Right.
It's getting bad. So, all right. I mean, I didn't have anything else. I don't know if anyone else got anything else or.
Just date for next meeting.
Date for next meeting.
January.
Well, Tuesday.
The 12th.
Looks like the 12th.
Yeah. 12. Yeah, it'd be the second Tuesday.
Yeah, 12th would be a second Tuesday. So we'll go with 12th. Okay. If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn if everyone's good.
I make a motion that we adjourn. tonight's meeting.
Second.
Second by Mark. All in favor, Dave, Wayne,
Yes.
yes, Ken, yes,
Yes.
Yep.
Mark, yes. I'm a yes. All right, we are adjourned, gentlemen.
Yeah.
And lady.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good one.
Thanks. Have a good one.